Hello, this is Del Denny of TBC Action Coach of Indiana, and I want to welcome you to the Indiana Business Spotlight Series. The purpose of this series is to help promote local Indiana businesses succeed, because when small businesses succeed, well, we all succeed. And today I have a special guest. I've got Jeremy here. Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
Wonderful. Well, Jeremy, tell me a little bit about who you are. What's your background?
I am an entrepreneur. I started when I was 13 years old. I started my first business thanks to a dad loan and really fell in love with being able to do my own thing. So, started and done several businesses in between that and now kind of where I'm landed. Um, but yeah, I'd say I'm an entrepreneur for sure with a digital marketing background.
Fantastic. Now, tell us about your business. If you could give us like a 60-second commercial about what your business does, what would you say?
Well, we're a fundraising company, but more specifically, we feature the 5 gallon bucket of laundry detergent. And what's really awesome about our fundraising alternative is it's actually helpful to people, number one. And it's one of the only fundraisers that I'm aware of that actually saves money to the end customer when it's all said and done. So in other words, you're supporting the team. They make 30% of everything they sell. And at the end of the day, you're saving about 50% on your total laundry detergent costs versus what you would buy them at Walmart or Meijer or somewhere like that. So that's kind of the unheard of part. We call it our 3 win, where typically in a 2 win situation, you have the team who makes money, you have the company who makes money, but then the supporter, who is the purchaser of the product, is getting a crap product. They don't need it, they don't want it, they're just trying to support. So it ultimately becomes like a donation. We didn't really, we didn't like that. We thought there should be a potential for a win everywhere. And if we could achieve that, we knew we would have, some success with fundraising. And so the laundry detergent being our lead product has definitely given that value that we were looking for.
That's awesome. Now, you're in the fundraising space. Who is your target audience? Who do you work with quite often?
It's pretty much a split between schools and their sports programs and what you would call either recreation or travel league programs. So, swim, dance, cheer, baseball. Baseball is where we got our start. So we've kind of always had a really big business with the baseball travel teams, softball, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Now, this business came from your own needs for fundraising. Can you tell us a
Right.
little bit about that backstory?
Yeah, I've always been a baseball guy, and luckily I had a son when he was 8 years old. Well, prior to that, but that was kind of the age that you could start travel ball, and all of the kids that wanted to play were 10. So my son being 8, I was like, hey, we'll put you in the big pond and you're going to swim. We decided to start the first little travel team or travel thing that in our community. And, I'm new to this. So I'm talking to other coaches and they're like, hey, we got to do some fundraising. And I'm like, okay. So we did the Texas Roadhouse rolls and butter and peanuts and wrapping paper, cookie dough, and all that. And a softball coach, a friend of mine, pulled me aside and he said, hey, have you ever heard of that laundry detergent fundraiser? No, not at all. And there was a company here in Indiana doing it at the time, and so we gave it a shot and went over went over like gangbusters. And after like 3 months, we had people calling us saying, "Hey, are you guys doing that laundry detergent thing again?" I'm like, "Man, nobody's ever chased us down for wrapping paper before. This is kind of interesting." And so we did it a second time, and the product and the the differentiator that it gave was huge. We had some issues, along the way with the company and the service and certain things there. And so the team mom and I, she was an executive up in Indianapolis. We kind of looked at each other and was like, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" I was like, "Yeah, let's check this out. This is a potential business opportunity." She got a huge promotion and was like in and out in 2 months. Pretty much sold it back to me, and I took it from there.
That's awesome. So let's talk. Indiana Business Spotlight, this series kind of came about because of COVID.
Mhm.
A lot of businesses closed their doors or kind of took a step back a little bit. Some people pivoted. What about your business? Any effects of COVID and the pandemic for your business?
Oh my, yeah. Literally within 48 hours, 98% of our business was put on hold, paused, or canceled. So, yeah, it was an absolute huge hit to us. Luckily, I had a couple other businesses, and so took a moment to try to take this all in as what's really going on with this. Because a couple of days before I heard about the NBA shutting down, I'm like, wow, that's pretty intense. What's this COVID thing everybody's talking about? And then boom, by the way, you're shut down. And so I went over to the warehouse, and we had an all natural company that started adding fundraising products on years ago, candles, melts, and those kind of things. So we do a lot of testing because we manufacture all of those products, and we had moved into an essential oil, all natural side of things. And so I started looking at all the products that we had, just kind of thinking, just trying to brainstorm, what can we do here since fundraising shut down? We have to survive. Employees need to eat. We need to have, money coming in for our families. And so I looked around and remembered in a textbook that hand sanitizer, there was a recipe for like a do it yourself, but do it the right way kind of thing. And I was like, well, I heard alcohol's getting hard to find and sanitizer's getting hard to find on the shelves. Maybe we can make something. And about 12 hours straight later, I think it was like 3 in the morning, we finally concocted one that stayed together. It worked and it smelled great and made your hands feel good. And so we're like, hey, let's go with this. And so we put it out on Facebook that morning, and by noon we had a line out the door. Because again, you can't get any of this at the dollar store. You can't get it anywhere. And so, luckily we had enough product to kind of get through that first couple of days. But immediately we knew this is probably going to be a popular thing. And then the fun cycle began of trying to source, you know, alcohol. I mean, I didn't even know at that point it's actually a commodity that you have to sort of track, and the volatility was like AMC stock right now. So it was a real wild ride, let me just say, trying to track down supply chain stuff on a business that, I mean, we literally had no idea what we were doing or where any of this stuff was. Luckily, through the Sudz side, I had plastics manufacturers and some contacts that can get me to contacts to get the alcohol and the peroxide and all these things that we needed, and bottle sprayers. And it was crazy. I mean, seemed like a step behind everything for a minute. And so we're working just round the clock trying to stay in stock with the one and only thing that is viable right now. But we ended up doing really well. We hooked up with a local hardware place that has 14 locations through the state. Gilman's. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they were great. Curtis that owns it's just awesome. He's just a good old boy that was like, hey, you guys got a product, we want to help. And they hooked up with our local company, Belden, the cable manufacturer, and they were supplying it to pretty much all of their fleet throughout the country. So I mean, we were starting with 100 bottles, and then we ended up having to build out a whole, and I mean, Hillman's helped us with it, but we had to figure out how to make shift enough to handle some demand that was like 1,000 bottles a day, and we were doing like 100 a day. And so I basically hired my 4 kids who are now displaced from school, and I was like, come on, you're going to learn a new school, and taught them the whole process. And then, I mean, they are absolute rock stars. They took it off from there. And within maybe a week, they were pretty much running the line themselves. And I was just doing social media updates and supply chain stuff. So we ended up getting up to, around 2,000 bottles a day is where we kind of capped out at, and had demand for that for quite some time. So it kept us alive and kept us going for sure.
That's awesome. I love the resiliency of entrepreneurs. Like,
Oh, yeah.
when you get punched in the face, you change your plan. That's
Yeah, I mean, pivot, that become kind of the word of 2020 for entrepreneurs, I think. I mean, I know we're definitely not the only story out there, especially in that sanitizer route. A lot of the distilleries we end up hooking up with, and
yeah.
working that out with them, and smell, because people were like, what is this? It smells like moonshine. Like, well,
Yeah,
it kind of was until they added some thickener to it.
it really was. I remember like seeing the different hand sanitizer, like, do I want to use that or not? Is my hands going to
uh,
smell like vodka afterwards? I don't know.
yeah, it was the first barrel we got. I remember opening it up, and the guy that works with me, Billy, he was like, dude, how are we going to sell that? And I'm like, because the stuff we made was liquid, and it had essential oils in it. And then, like, I mean, literally, it was whatever we had laying around, right? So it was like argan oil, jojoba oil. I mean, high end oils that you use for skincare products. And we're like putting it in hand sanitizer. So, I mean, people were like, man, my hands are so soft, it doesn't dry out. I'm like, yeah, it's like $5 worth of stuff you got on your hands right there. But, it worked and people loved it. So we just kept rolling with it.
That's awesome. They say that smart as a business owner, you not only do you run Sudz Fundraising and other businesses as well, mostly business owners watch this series, and they say that smart people learn from their own mistakes, but wise people learn from the mistakes of others. What are some, like, we learn lessons from our mistakes. What are some learning lessons that you might be able to share with other business owners to help them out?
The biggest one is don't have an ego. Hire a coach. Everybody who's anybody in the sports world and the fitness world, they all have coaches. Michael Jordan, I think, had 9. Me personally, that was something I had to get over myself. I was like, no, I own 3 businesses. I don't need help from anybody, but get a coach. It's the biggest or it's the best investment, not the biggest, but the best investment that you can really make is in a business coach.
That's awesome. Yeah, I completely agree. As a business coach, it's amazing what, I remember first time I hired a CPA and I saw his fee. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Right.
And he said, well, I'm going to find you 3 times that amount back. And sure enough, year after year after year, that was the case. And oftentimes we see that, as we work with clients, the return that we get from working with a business coach is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Jeremy, when it comes to Sudz Fundraising, where can we find you? If I have a team, or if I need to help my organization have a fundraiser, where do we go to?
We're on all the socials. You can check us out there: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But the website's the best, and it's Sudz with a Z, SUDZ fundraising.com. Everything you need is there to get started, get a free sample, chat with one of our fundraising coaches. It's all literally one click away.
That's fantastic, and we'll make sure that we add the links in the description of the video too.
Awesome.
Now, last question. I always
Sure.
like to end on a super high note, and
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what is the most inspiring thing to you today?
Most inspiring thing to me today. Oh man. I think the most inspiring thing to me is the area of mental health and mindset, and how important it is to, put it into your daily routine. And when you do, it's just this whole aura of things open up, And too many, I think, of us entrepreneurs get up, get going, we start falling behind by Wednesday, and then it's like out the window with everything. But the biggest inspiration that, I had in the last 5 years, or could give anybody, is to just don't underestimate how important getting off to the right start in the morning is, and develop something that's for you, that you can handle. Don't go with the gurus, all of them, and try to checklist it down like they do. You got to find what works for you, play with it, test it out, and then stick to it. And you will see within weeks, just amazing things start opening up when you start off the day with the right mindset.
Absolutely. 100% agree. I have meditation in my
Yes, sir.
calendar ready to go, and
Isn't that
morning.
the wildest thing? I mean, 15 minutes of just breathing and chilling. It just
It works
makes
wonders.
it's crazy, man. It's almost too easy. It just makes no sense. But glad to see you're a meditator too.
That I am. It's nice. I mean, I don't know why more people don't do it. It's free. All you have to do is sit there and just open your mind up, clear out some, the processes. It's like your computer, the RAM goes,
Mhm.
but occasionally you just need to kind of.
I think it's that ego, man. People like it's weird. And it's weird, and it makes them feel vulnerable. So they're like, nah, that's not me. I can do this. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm successful, man. I do well. You don't know how much better you can do or could do if you just kind of pull those things down, put those walls aside. You're by yourself, man. Nobody's watching. Do it.
Exactly. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for coming on the Indiana Business
Yeah, it's
Spotlight.
been awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure that everybody goes to his website, check it out, follow him on the social media handles. Jeremy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Dale. It was awesome.
Thank you.